right, we have the woman who took down Hunter Moore. She's going to be coming on the show in just a few minutes. You remember Hunter Moore? He was on our program, Friend to Rape Doogie.
Dude, I will wait your co-host in front of you.
Well, he was busted by the feds. It was a happy, happy day when I saw that. And he is going to be sentenced coming up, I think, next month. His face is up to 7 years in prison. Because you couldn't wait the 30 seconds to staple that. We're going to break.
Okay.
3 times.
Let me take a quick break. We'll be right back with Charlotte Laws right after this. Dr. Charlotte Laws is going to be on the show in a minute. She has a book out, Rebel in High Heels, and is available on Amazon. She took down Hunter Moore, is my understanding. I don't know all of the details, but you know our friend Hunter Moore, who I just despised. He's been on the show a few times. He threatened to rape Doogie at one point.
Dude, I will wait your co-host in front of you.
Yes, he was going to rape my co-host in front of me, he said. He also then said that he was going to buy the radio station and fire me because he had so much money, was his claim. I challenged him on that. In fact, what did I bet him?
$10,000. You made the challenge because he made the claim that he was richer than you, so you challenged him. Hey, let's compare tax returns. I'll bet you $10,000 to that effect.
I think I even offered to put the money in escrow. He never took us up on that offer. And indeed, just a few days after that, he posted a message to his website asking people for money because his server costs were so expensive. That doesn't sound like a guy that is hundreds of millions of dollars and is living in his mommy's basement, does it? No. The guy was a creep. Hunter Moore ran a website, isanyoneup.com. It was a revenge porn website. Apparently this woman was instrumental in taking him down. Good morning, Dr. Laws. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So, how did you get involved with this creep Hunter Moore, who was a real douchebag? I hate the guy.
Well, my daughter was hacked. Her email was hacked, and she had taken, in October of 2011, she'd taken over 100 pictures in the mirror with her cell phone, and one of those pictures was topless, and she sent them to save them on her computer, so they went through her email, and then 3 months later, she was hacked by a hacker that Hunter Moore had hired, and her topless picture then was loaded onto Hunter Moore's website, along with her name, her city, and her Twitter link. And I had never heard of revenge porn before that. My daughter was in absolute distress. She was freaked out. It was almost impossible to get content removed from Hunter Moore's site because he refused to comply with copyright law. And I realized there was a hacking scheme. And I started calling people who were posted on his site to find out how they got on there. And I found out that 40% had been hacked. 12% had been photoshopped. So these are people who never took a nude picture, but their headshot was put with a porn star's body along with all of their identifying information.
Now, at the time, I think I remember seeing this in the news, that these women were getting their email accounts hacked and that sort of stuff. I mean, it almost sounds extraordinary. You would think that most of these photos would be from ex-boyfriends sending them to the website saying, maybe they had a falling out with the girlfriend, but they had some nude photos of the girlfriend. That's how I would think most of these photos. So I remember when I read in the news that he was accused of hacking, I said, that sounds unbelievable. Why would you even need to go through the trouble? But I guess he was doing that. So my question is, how was your daughter targeted? Why did they target her, and who targeted her, and how did that come about?
It really wasn't targeted. What they did was the hacker would get into one person's Facebook page and then use that to branch out to other Facebook friends of that person. And then he would just rifle through the emails, and if he found nude pictures, they would be sent to Hunter. If he didn't find them, he'd go on to the next person. But he would use one friend to get to the next friend. So that's kind of how it works. But the reason why the hacking was happening is because Hunter wanted pictures of people who had something to lose if they were posted on his site. They wanted executives, they wanted teachers, he wanted people with reputations, because that's what he and his followers enjoyed, is ruining lives. You know, it was all about humiliating people, hurting people, getting them fired, driving them to suicide. That was the goal of the followers on the site. It was not about just posting nude pictures, because he did have self-submits. He had people who sent their pictures in saying, hey, post me. That wasn't interesting to him.
So your daughter had this photo posted. She's distraught. What do you do at that point?
Well, I sent the takedown notices to Hunter Moore, which he ignored. I went to Los Angeles Police Department, and the female middle-aged detective basically did the victim blaming, saying, well, why would you take a picture like this if you didn't want it on the internet? She did agree to take the case, but she didn't really want to take the case. I then contacted the FBI, who wanted me to file a report online, and I felt that was probably because they just didn't have time to devote to this case.
Right.
So I said to them, oh, I see. You help Scarlett Johansson when she gets hacked, but you don't help the average person, because she had her nude picture hacked, and they had actually come to her aid. So they did take the case, and so 3 agents showed up at our house. They initially said they didn't think they'd be able to take the case, but by that point, I already had a ton of victims who had all been hacked, and I knew some of them had been hacked by the same hacker, and he was in California. And so because I had all these other victims, it was a big case to them, and so they did put the time and resources into it, and eventually, as you know, Hunter Moore was arrested, and so was the man he hired. Both of them have now pled guilty, and they're both looking at 2 to 7 years in prison, although the hacker, even after he was raided by the FBI, he continued to hack, believe it or not, and so he had hacked another 300 emails, apparently, and so the Kamala Harris, who's the Attorney General in California, investigated him for that, and so there were separate charges brought by the state of California against him, so he's looking at an additional probably 2 years in prison after the federal sentence.
Can you come up with any explanation in your mind why a guy would be so dumb after you have been charged, after the feds have gotten you for hacking, that you would continue to keep hacking?
Well, I think he would say that he has an addiction to hacking, and he told one person that he'd been hacking since he was 16, that he also had a drug and alcohol addiction, and that, you know, when he's in his room and it's dark and he doesn't really feel the ramifications of what he's doing. That's probably what he would say.
Now, how did Hunter Moore get hooked up with that guy, and what was in it for that hacker? Was Hunter Moore paying that guy?
Yeah, he was paying him. He wasn't paying him very much. So, you know, you have to kind of think the hacker was doing it for other reasons, so he enjoyed doing it. But how they got connected is kind of interesting. The hacker apparently hacked Hunter, and instead of Hunter getting angry, he said, hey, do you want to hack for me? And that's how they came into contact. And the hacker, it lives in Studio City, which is a suburb of Los Angeles, and then Hunter is just outside of Sacramento in Woodland area. So then, you know, I kind of started pressing for laws, and we now have 24 laws against revenge porn all over the country, which is wonderful. Ohio, unfortunately, doesn't have one yet, but you guys should have one. But we do have Jackie Spear, who's a congresswoman in California, who's planning to introduce a federal law sometime in the next few weeks.
Now, what exactly would a revenge porn law, you say California has this and other states do, what are those laws exactly? I mean, what do they prohibit someone from doing?
Well, basically from distributing non-consensual pornography. So it's illegal to post or distribute photos of nude people without their consent. Now, every single state has a different wording and, you know, different information with regards to what the law is, and that's why it's important to have consistency. I think it's important to have federal law. Israel has passed a law. The UK has passed a law. So there are other countries actually ahead of the United States, and so that's kind of the most important way to combat revenge porn, because the guys who do this, and you're right, it's usually 20 to 30-year-old guys who live in their parents' basement, who enjoy humiliating women. It's very much a sexist thing, but they're not afraid of civil suits. And I think it's largely because they probably don't have money, and I agree with you, I don't believe Hunter Moore had that much money at all, but he liked to boast that he did. And they're also not afraid of civil suits because the victim will have to come out of pocket unless they can get a pro bono attorney. So that's going to cost them $70,000. They may get no money on the other end after the case is over, and plus they may have to link their name with nude pictures, which is exactly what the victims don't want to do. They're trying to hide from this. They do not want their reputations ruined, and so a civil suit is exactly the wrong way to go for them.
Was your daughter, when you started crusading against Hunter Moore, was she happy? Was she like, yeah, let's get him? Or was she mortified of saying, Mom, you're making, this is going to be worse. My boob pictures are going to be even more out there now?
Well, she wanted the pictures down initially, so she definitely wanted me to go after him. And then I had a conversation with her before I went public, because at the time, no one was willing to go public to stand up for victims on this issue, because this was 3 years ago. And I had that conversation with her, and I said, if I do go public with this, your name is going to be out there. And she said, that's okay, it's an important cause. But she does have mixed feelings now. I mean, she worries that being associated with this issue will hurt her career. And she's now gone into real estate, and she worries that clients will see that she was, that her topless picture was on the internet. So she has mixed feelings about it, but she is happy with the progress that we've made with respect to this cause, and that, it's really just it's gotten so much publicity. The issue has, people are much more aware of it, and politicians are taking up the cause.
Well, I know that we've talked about it on the show, and some of the guys on the show have said, like if an ex-boyfriend posts something and they go, well, they shouldn't have done it, or if someone, or the celebrity hacking scandal, what was called the fappening, all of these nude photos that were being released and videos and things like that. Now, look, I'll admit, I looked at some of those too, but it's a terrible invasion of privacy, and the attitude of, I think one of my co-hosts here was, well, they shouldn't have taken those photos then. The same thing that the police said to your daughter when you guys went in and made this report. And what is interesting to me is that no one would stand for it if I broke into your house, Charlotte, and I stole your stereo. People would go, well, that's wrong. Mm-hmm. But if you break into someone's cell phone or computer and you steal information, people are like, oh, well, you shouldn't have taken the photo. It's strange.
Yeah. And then even when somebody trusts, say a woman trusts their boyfriend and gives them a picture, the analogy you could use is you're sitting in a restaurant and you give a credit card to a waiter who disappears with your credit card. No one is going to say, if he goes and runs up thousands of dollars of his own personal purchases, they're not going to say, well, why did you trust the waiter? Or why are you even eating out? Or why do you even have a credit card? No one's going to say that. But with revenge porn, all of a sudden it's the woman's fault, because society is so used to blaming women for anything related to sex.
I would say, though, that I would go out on a limb and say, if someone has given a photo or a video to someone, a boyfriend or whatever, I'm not saying it's right then to disseminate that after a breakup or whatever. But that's not nearly as bad as breaking into someone's computer or phone and getting it. I mean, when you send something to someone, I think the rule of thumb should be, you don't know. Once it's out of your control, it's out of your control. Who knows what could possibly happen to it, So I think, wouldn't you make a distinction there?
Well, I do think that the hacking is worse. I mean, I definitely think that is, kind of a double crime. But you got to remember, too, that when you take a picture of yourself and say you send it to your significant other, you own the copyright to that picture. That other person does not own it. Whoever takes that picture under copyright law legally owns it, which means that not only could you sue the person, I mean, someone could technically be arrested under criminal charges for copyright law, but it doesn't happen very often. So you do own that picture, so no one else really has a right to be disseminating that if you took it yourself.
What do you think is going to happen to Hunter Moore? So he faces, I think, up to 7 years in prison? He's pleaded guilty. What are they going to give him? Are they going to really give him 7 years? Are they going to give him less? What's your feeling on this? I think he's going to be sentenced next month.
I was told that it's most likely the judge will go somewhere down the middle, and that's what judges tend to do. He also has a $500,000 fine and then 3 years of supervised release following his prison term. So I assume that means internet supervision. And his Twitter page was taken down, which pleases me. And his members of the family, many of them have really turned against him. He was, the father, and he had this cult going of all these people who said they would kill for him. Some of them, were pretty staunch advocates for him.
You got death threats, right?
I got death threats, I got computer viruses, I had a stalker come to my house. I mean, it was really quite frightening because a lot of these people are just avid followers, and he was this cult leader and using this Charles Manson type of language of the father and the children and the family, and so it was pretty frightening when you get bombarded and you have 21 viruses on your computer and you never click on anything. It's really, really weird. You don't understand how it could have possibly happened, but if someone's a really good hacker, they can get you from anywhere, period. I mean, they can just get anyone they want.
Did you ever talk to Hunter Moore yourself, personally?
I've never talked to him. I went undercover at one of his parties, though.
Oh, yeah?
And he didn't even know about that. But, yeah, there was one victim had sent him paper. His lawyer had served him, her lawyer had served him with papers at a club in Northern California. And he had just gone ballistic and torn the papers into shreds and thrown them all over the club. And then he denied being served. And another victim wanted to serve him at a club in Long Beach where he was hosting a party. And so I put on this crazy outfit. I had this white pasty stuff on my face and this little hat and sunglasses and a black wig. And I mean, I looked really, really funny. And I went down there to witness the process serving. And that was the first time I'd seen him in person. And it was so bizarre because it was this huge parking lot. It was kind of like a motel, but it was this very large motel. And I locked my car in this big parking lot. I turn around and I'm staring at, guess who? Hunter Moore and like 3 other kids. It was so bizarre. But he didn't recognize me. And so then, so I went and I kind of watched him that evening at his party. And then I've seen him 2 other times in person, which were in the courtroom. I've never actually had a conversation with him.
Do you think he has any remorse? I mean, he's been on my show a few times, and I've found him to be a huge douchebag. Do you think he has any remorse, or does he just feel bad that he got caught?
I think he probably feels bad that he got caught. I mean, most people would say he's a sociopath. I mean, I don't know, but I'd be very surprised if he has any remorse. The hacker has expressed remorse. He did an interview with CNN where before he actually had a plea deal, he confessed on CNN that he had committed the crimes, and he says that he's sorry and he feels bad that he did it. But I've never heard Hunter say that, and so. I don't know. I think his view of human nature is that people are just nasty. It's a nasty and brutish world, and if people feel better when they put down other people, I think that's pretty much Hunter's philosophy of life.
Well, Dr. Charlotte Laws has a book out. It's called Rebel in High Heels. She has a doctorate in social ethics. That's why she's the doctor. I guess this would fall under your purview of social ethics. It certainly seems right up your alley. Rebel in High Heels is the book. You can get it out. And I'm glad that you took this guy down. He was a dick. I couldn't stand the guy. And good riddance to the guy. I think he should probably spend more time in prison than it does seem like the punishment doesn't really fit the crime. It seems like if you're doing all this, you're paying someone to hack into these accounts. I have a feeling if I were paying someone to hack into, I don't know, maybe the corporate offices of IBM or Amazon or something like that, I'll bet the FBI, if I were caught, it seems like the penalty would be stiffer if I were doing that. Mm-hmm. But, Dr. Laws, I appreciate you coming on, and good luck with the book.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Charlotte Laws.